Welcome to MIA
2K.
Your ticket from Miami to Seoul.
We're Kathy and Laura, and we're so happy you could join us today.
You probably know us from, just kidding, you don't know us yet. We're just two Miami girls with obsessive fandom tendencies who fell into the inescapable void of Korean entertainment. And we're here to share our insights and spill all the tea only grown fans like us can enjoy.
We've done all the research and acclimating so you don't have to. Before we begin, please make sure you're following us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And if you love visuals like us, you can watch us on our YouTube channel. We drop episodes with our hot and sunny takes every week.
Hi guys. So tell me you forgot how to podcast without telling me you forgot how to podcast. We'll go first. We were so excited to record this episode that we started talking nonstop and didn't realize that we completely forgot to introduce the second part until just now that we were editing. So to right our wrong, and for those of you watching us on YouTube or Spotify, we're here showcasing some of the beautiful images we got from our photo shoot at Gyeongbok Palace, booked through Airbnb Experiences. Our amazing photographer's Instagram handle is on the screen right now if you want to look him up. Now, without further ado, here's the missing intro to this episode. We spent 2 amazing weeks visiting 4 cities in South Korea, and we came back with the top 10 things you need to know in order to plan the most amazing trip to South Korea for yourself. Last week, we gave you part 1 with the first 5 things that included overall planning, airfare, lodging, transportation within the country, and the apps you need in order to get around to all the landmarks on your list. So now let's dive right into part 2, starting with thing number 6, which is cell phones, cell phone plans, and SIM cards. Enjoy!
And speaking of cell phones, actually,
Point 6.
yeah, that's our point 6. Make sure that whatever provider you have does international roaming. For T-Mobile, in a lot of plans, data and text messages are included within the plan, so they don't charge you for it once you go abroad, which is one of the reasons why I have T-Mobile, because I travel a lot. I do not like paying for shit, because I know, for example, Verizon and AT&T, they charge like $5, $10 a day.
Yeah.
So T-Mobile for us didn't charge. And then if you wanted to make a call, it was 25 cents per minute, which is a lot, but like if you're in an emergency, it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
As long as you know like your plans. Like we said, Kathy's phone had less signal than mine, so be aware that that could happen. And then depending on what cell phone carrier you have and what your international roaming is, it might be better to just get a Korean SIM card. So we actually ended up getting one for when we were in Seoul, because I think it was it? Yeah, you were the one that
It was
researched.
because a lot of people said that sometimes to make reservations at restaurants, you had to have a Korean number, which ended up being the case a couple of times for us, not just in Seoul, but even in Busan as well.
Right.
So we had planned to do that, but with the very short layover that we had when we first landed in Seoul, because it was Florida, Detroit, Seoul, Busan, and we had an airport transfer in that process. We were like, we're not even doing baggage claim, so we're definitely not going to try to pick up a SIM card at the beginning of the trip. So we just talked it out, and we figured that it was probably going to come in handy the most in Seoul. So we were going to set it up, because you can only get it at airports. Right. So we set it up to pick it up at the airport when we landed from Jeju to Seoul. And yeah, again, it does happen. Like, not everywhere. Like, the majority, I would say 90% of where we went was fine. We didn't need a Korean cell phone number, but there were 3 places specifically where we had to put our names down, and they don't accept foreign numbers. It had to be a Korean phone number. So,
and aside from that, I think for the Kakao Talk, when I was actually, sorry, not Kakao Talk, for the Kakao Taxi, it required a Korean phone number. So that was also a thing. And then in terms of the SIM cards, you should do research, because there are different types of SIM cards. Some of the SIM cards I saw just had data, but it didn't include calls or even text messages. So if you're at a restaurant that requires text messages, you use the SIM card for nothing. Well, not for nothing, because for just getting around you need it, but in that case, it's not useful. We got one where it had data and like 11,000 won worth of credits for texting and calling, which is what we ended up using the little times that we needed, or the couple times that we needed. So that is something to be aware when you choose SIM cards.
Yeah.
And also if your phone is if it's unlocked, like if you have a carrier here that doesn't allow you to use your phone, you won't be able to use a Korean SIM card. So
Yeah,
that's something that you should ask
100%.
your provider.
And with proper timing, because I thought my phone was unlocked and then I realized that it wasn't. So I called like the night before I left and they were like, yeah, it'll be unlocked within 72 hours. My phone was never unlocked.
Yeah.
So
That
again,
was also
another reason why I was useless. Not
right.
useless, but it
But
wasn't useful for communication.
right. I bought my phone outside of a carrier. Like I bought it directly from Samsung, and that's why it was unlocked. And then this is, I feel like, pretty important topic.
Yeah.
Number 7, payment. So I have a Samsung, right? So I was like, let me show off. I'm in the country of Samsung. Like, this is where my phone was born. Like, I got this. Let me download Samsung Pay. Fail.
Yeah. Like we talked
Utter
about this
failure.
multiple times. Multiple times we talked about this within our planning. We're like, oh, we're gonna take out some cash, which I'll explain in like a second. And we're gonna have some cash, but we're probably not gonna use it because we're gonna have Samsung Pay. Yeah, Samsung
Yeah.
Pay said, don't know them. We don't know them.
To
Not
this
us.
day, I still don't know why it didn't work. I spent hours when we like had downtime looking why that shit wasn't working because I wanted it to fucking work and it just didn't. Like it was such a big letdown. I was like, really, Samsung? I'm trying to rep you and you do this to me? You do this?
Yeah, Laura loves
But
to
it's
roast
fine.
my iPhone for the camera and all these things, but Miss Samsung was not doing what she was supposed to be doing. She had one job. She literally had one job, and she said, bye.
Peace.
So yeah, so the next point is again, I just mentioned the cash component. So all you need to know is if you need cash abroad. I read a lot about this and I saw a lot of TikToks about this, and they're just like, just go to Hongdae and go to like some back alley and find the grandmas with a stash of cash. They give you the best rate. Love that, grandmas. Love that. Absolutely love that for them. But knowing us and knowing life, I wasn't gonna play with that. So what I did was, and also because the one went down significantly around early October, I was like, this is the time because it could go up before the trip, so we would have missed out on a lower rate. So you go if you have your bank account online, like I have Bank of America. Somewhere in the dashboard, there's a thing for like ordering foreign currency. You check whatever country you want currency from. You say how much you want in either like the country's currency or USD. They tell you how much the rate is for that day. You agree to it. I think there's like a $7 fee for either shipping or something. It's a small, not small, but it's a fee. So there's a fee on top of like whatever amount you ask for, and then they ship it to you. I think I got it in like 3 or 4 days. It was very
Yeah.
fast. So we ordered $500, I think is what we ordered to be safe because we were not gonna use all of it. We used all of it.
Yeah.
We ended up using a lot more cash than we thought based on TikToks and things we had seen.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, you only need cash for like 3 things and the rest is like by card.
Yeah.
Not our experience. We
And
use a lot more cash than we
personally,
planned.
I've tried to I've compared like going to an exchange house outside of the bank, and the bank always gives you the best rate, the more fair rate.
Yeah.
At least in the ones that I've seen here in Miami, the bank will give you a better rate. There's
Yeah.
less fees, less trying to like swindle you. They're a bank. They're
Yeah,
okay.
and also you just like you never know with like counterfeit
Yeah.
or whatever. You don't want to be caught in that situation when you're abroad and where you don't speak the language, and if they have any bad impression of foreigners and you show up with any like bills that you didn't know, like, it's a lot. This is our brains live in very dark places and we're always thinking about like the worst case scenario, but we just like prepare. It's not like being paranoid. We just like prepare for these things.
Right.
So yeah, and then I'm an Amex girl. I've always been an Amex girl. And I knew from before going that it was mostly not going to be accepted because even using it for like Global Interpark or whenever I bought things where like we bought tickets in advance to go to things,
Yeah.
Amex was not accepted. So I had already like I knew that it wasn't going to be a thing, so I used my debit card and I after the fact, like when Laura and I would do our tabs every like 2 or 3 days because we just like one of us always paid somewhere and we were just trying
Yeah.
to keep each other like, even. I did get hit with quite a bit of foreign fees, which I should have known because it happened in London, but I just forgot. So definitely make sure if you're going to use your card abroad that they have either some sort of like foreign plan where you don't get charged fees. Like Laura's card, she doesn't get charged fees for traveling. Mine, I do. It's fine. Like I probably like all in all, if I do the math, it's maybe like $20 cumulatively because it's like 23 cents, 10 cents, whatever. Like it's
Right.
based on the amount that you spend. It's fine. I can live with it. It was my bad.
I have two credit cards and I personally got them visas because I like to travel and I wanted to make sure that they were widely accepted.
Mm.
Also, when I got my credit cards, I made sure, like, one of my biggest selling points was whether they charge foreign fees or not. I am also a person that doesn't like to use their debit card outside of the US. And by outside of the US, I mean outside of Miami. Like,
Hmm.
even if I travel outside of the city, I like to stick to my credit cards just because if fraud is committed, I'm not out actual money. Like, with a debit card, that is the money that it's your money. Like, that's what
Yeah.
you have, right? It's also a little bit more
It's
tedious,
harder to challenge
right?
those charges. Yeah.
So that's why I like to keep everything in my credit card because I can just not get charge fees. And if there is fraud, I can just chop that card up, call the bank and be like, yo, this isn't it. And use my other card because I have two that I use. So,
And if you book hotels with debit cards, this is the one thing that I know about life. And you cancel or whatever, it could take a really long time for you to get your money
right.
back when it comes to
Mhm.
debit card charges. So there are a lot of benefits to having a credit card over a debit card. And yeah, so just keep those things in mind when you're planning your trip.
And then another thing is that that blew Kathy's mind this whole trip, which is so funny to me.
I just learn every day, and sometimes when I learn, I like to talk about it every day.
we were laying down doing our, putting in stuff or whatever, trying to figure out expenses. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go into my bank account. Let me get out of the Wi-Fi. And Kathy turns around and she's like, that's true. And I'm like, yeah.
So here's the thing, guys. Like I've lived abroad. I'm a grown woman. I'm older than Laura. I think I've lived in more places and everything.
Yeah.
But sometimes I just like don't think about these things or I've never heard these things or Laura does a lot of research in general, so she comes across a lot of information that is very useful. I don't do that kind of research for the most part. So I don't have that useful information. So whenever she blows my mind with things like that, I'm just like, wow. And then like for the rest of the trip, I was like, look at me, logging into my bank on the Wi-Fi again because the LTE was not LTEing for me. So I just needed to log in and I was like, fuck it. Like if they hack me, they hack me. It is what it is. But yeah, it was a very useful educational experience. So pro tip, whenever you go abroad or whenever you're anywhere, if you are on the Wi-Fi your phone before logging into your bank account because they can log, like they can see on the back end if someone is looking for the information of your
Yeah.
login stuff, they will be able to get it from you being on the Wi-Fi.
Right. And
The more
then
you know.
one other thing, we did take out some cash in
Daegu.
Korea. It was in Daegu. I know for a fact that my debit card, there's always fees when you take out cash from banks that are outside of your network. Chase doesn't have that many sister banks. There are, like, Bank of America actually has a lot of sister banks
Yeah.
where you can go and they won't charge you the fee. Chase doesn't really. But I know that my card doesn't charge you any fees. And one of the things that the lady was super excited about, she was like, "Oh my God, yeah, you don't get charged ATM fees." And I'm like, actually, this is super helpful for me. So we took out cash using my card because of that reason. And then another thing that I learned during my travels was I had an instance where I tried to take out cash, but I didn't get any cash back. Like, I didn't get any cash. It said canceled. But when I looked at my bank account, like the bank had said that I had gotten the cash. And it took a long time for them to figure out that I actually didn't receive cash because I wasn't able to tell them the exact number of the ATM that I used.
Mm.
This happened when I took out cash in Colombia. And so I could tell them where the ATM was located, but not the exact ATM number. So when we were taking out cash in Korea, I was like, Kathy, can you
She's like, can you take
film
a
me?
picture of the screen? And I was like, what is happening? Sure. I'm like, I'm the one who's documenting 99% of the trip. Like I'm
It's
taking
true.
pictures and videos of everything. Like Laura takes pictures too, but hers are more like aesthetic and like the architecture and whatever. Like I am literally filming every second of every moment. And I was like, Laura, I don't know why we need to document the ATM part. Like I really don't think that's helpful for anybody. She's like, no, trust me. I need to know the number of the ATM. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, again, I'm just learning things, I'm just like living through Laura and her experiences. That's all we
So
do.
pro tip, make
Yeah.
sure you take a picture of where you're getting your money just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case. And then I think the best, and I'm sorry I'm speaking louder, but I am super fucking excited because this has literally changed my travel experience when I go anywhere with friends, even just in the city, like Splitwise, bro.
Splitwise is great. Like
Amazing.
Splitwise, Laura and I
Amazing.
use it not just for our trips, but even for like our podcast expenses. Because all we spend money together a lot. We hang out a lot. So
Yeah.
like whenever we go out with friends, for Laura's bachelorette, she used it with like over 10 people that were
Yeah.
coming on to the bachelorette. And it works really, really well, really seamlessly. The app is really good. You can take pictures of receipts and like forget about it. And it's really, really seamless and really user friendly. That's what I
Yeah.
can say about the app. And it just makes the checks and everything just easier. Actually, Splitwise has another app that is called, I forgot the name, maybe Plated or something, that is specifically for splitting meals. So like you can
Mm.
just put every amount of like, or every item and the tax and whatever and the amount of people and what they had, and it splits it specifically. Like if you don't want to say like, oh, split it halfway or split it in three, like evenly. If you don't want to do it and you want to do like a super fair splitting, Splitwise has a separate app for just meals. So you can also use that. Laura and I are both like, it's just halfway, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
good.
And for Splitwise, like you can log and categorize everything. So if we want to know how much we spent throughout our whole trip on certain things, we can just go to the categories and just look at how much we
Yeah.
spent for each
Like
like
how much you spent
category.
on food, how much you spent on
Drinks,
transportation,
yeah.
drinks, whatever. It
And
really has been like life changing. Like Splitwise, we're not sponsored, but like please sponsor us. Like
please,
we will keep talking all the great things about you because you're it.
it's amazing. It makes easy like it you literally don't have to think. You just put in the information and it does all the thinking for you.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And it's free.
Love it. And it's free.
Most of the features, like it does have some premium features. We've never needed them.
Mm-mm.
So you can use it completely for free. Just like put all your information there. Once the trip ended, we got to the ending balance of like how much does someone owe the other person, and then you put settle up, you pay back, and then it disappears.
That's it.
Like it's archived. It's still there. You can still access it,
Yeah.
but it's not in your main like dashboard anymore. And it's
Yeah.
done. So yeah, it's really good. Can't speak highly enough of it.
Love it.
Okay, point number 8. And this was a big hot question that we got a lot on Instagram as well as from our friends, and it is the language. So, as a tourist, you may be surprised that a big majority of South Korea's attractions and monuments have plaques like that describe, the year, whatever, when it happened, and it's only in Korean. And I was like, I can read Hangul, but I'm not very fluent. So how am I supposed to know other than like pointing my phone and with Papago, like, what it says, like what the significance of this monument is. So we came to figure out two things while we were there. One is South Koreans actually do a lot of internal tourism. Like whenever Laura and I went anywhere, and it also obviously the fact that we went off season probably helped with this, but
Mhm.
there weren't a lot of other foreigners around. Like 98% of every attraction we went to, for the most part, were Koreans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
maybe except Seoul, but like Busan, Daegu, Jeju, most of the people were Korean. Like literally everywhere. So we were like, wow, like they really cater to themselves and like they really foster this like excitement for touring your own country. Like we were kind of
Mm.
fascinated by that because we were like, does this happen in the States? Like I don't see people trying to go, like, yeah, we travel to like, I don't know, Denver or something, but like it doesn't feel the same as it
No, no.
feels with this. But then when we realize it, it's like, we have traveled to Europe, Latin America, and stuff like that. And like every country does have like the plaques or whatever in their native language. But the thing is, we have been mostly used to traveling to countries that use the Latin or Roman alphabets. So we can kind of understand a little bit of what's
Right.
happening. It doesn't feel like as big of a jarring transition. So yeah, so once you see like it's Hangul everywhere, except like there are some that do have the English translation. But if you go, if you're like a history buff or like something, and you're expecting to go and especially to the smaller towns and seeing like a monument and like, oh, I want to learn all about it, you're gonna need Papago and or like a map or something that has a translation, or go online, because most of the things that we saw were only in Korean and Hangul.
Right.
So it's not necessarily friendly for foreigners to read.
Mm.
And yeah.
On that note, the Busan and Seoul airports, they're pretty big airports. It wasn't that big of a difference in terms of they had everything like in different languages, but the Jeju airport was much smaller and you could feel it. Like they
But it
had,
was also like better in some ways. Like the it was,
yeah, yeah.
we saw it and it was like, oh damn, like, it was like almost better than the Busan one in some ways.
The language wasn't that good, but the amenities were good. Like
They
the
had like a
language,
specific foreigner line, and stuff for us like at the
right.
Jeju airport. So give and take. Every airport is a different experience, really.
Yeah. With Jeju, just the language, the main things were in English, but a lot of the tiny things that would help us trying to find our fucking car were not in
It's all
English.
Avis's fault. Like they did
Like,
say like rental car gate 5. Like that was clear and multiple signs for it. It was just Avis's fault. So Avis, don't sponsor us. Don't.
fuck you.
Because we struggled with like our bags and like putting up our hair in knots, and we're like trying to have a, we were barely in Jeju for 2 days and we were trying to make the most of it. And we weren't able to because of your shitty signage and lack thereof. Or at least, like, in your email that you send, be like, go to the, what was the thing called? SK? Go to SK Transport, whatever.
Yeah.
Never did they ever say
Nothing.
that. Nothing.
Nothing. And we
Nothing.
read everything.
Laura read everything.
I read everything.
Because she booked it. I didn't have it on my phone. So
Ugh.
she booked everything. Anyway, so
Kathy is very good at languages. She has a gift for languages. Obviously, I'm not saying I see your face. I'm not saying you're 100% Korean speaker, but languages come easier to you than, like, for
sure.
example, me.
Right.
She's been in this Korean entertainment world for a tiny little less than I have, and she can read Hangul. Like she can say things.
Try.
And like people were saying, "Oh my God, your pronunciation is pretty great." Like
One person said that, and it was just kamsamnida, so it was not a big deal.
whatever. In general, she's gifted with languages.
Sure.
I am not. I only know 감사합니다 and 안녕, and I said nothing. And even with that, I could move around fine as long as you're not afraid to look a little bit crazy and do sign language and do charades. You're okay. Like you'll be able to make it.
Yeah.
It might be because maybe we're a little bit of like seasoned travelers that were able to not be afraid of doing these things, but
Yeah.
like it really shouldn't stop you from going. Like
Yeah.
English isn't that common, but you'll be okay. Just
Yeah. You're gonna
papago,
struggle a little bit, but it's it's
but it's
not
fine.
it's not it's not unmanageable. Like we went like in well, we arrived in Jeju and we went to a gimbap restaurant. And a lot of these restaurants have like monitors where you can order, and like, in Busan they had like the English tab, and then we got to Jeju and there's no English tab anymore. And in Daegu the same thing. So when that happened, we were like, and then people are behind you, and then you're like, shooting, and then the phone's taking long to like load with the papago. It's a little bit of a struggle, but like as long as you go prepared to like not be the center of attention and the moment because you are not Korean, you'll be fine. Like you
Yeah,
just,
it's
like, you're
okay.
a foreigner and they are accepting of that, and they'll help if they can, if they know. But sometimes you will find places where there is absolutely zero English in writing or the person like that
Yeah.
is there, and you're just gonna have to figure it out. And Laura did really well with the sign language. I tried my best with like the few words that I could manage. And I blanked out so many times, like I couldn't even say I don't speak Korean. Like I had the phrase memorized, I had the TikTok saved, I had the screenshot on my phone. And then like I got on the plane back from South Korea to Miami, and then I was like, oh, that's how you say I don't speak Korean. My bad. Like it happened. Like, we weren't having fluent conversations with people that
No,
we that didn't speak English. So
no.
it's fine.
I was just nodding my not like not nodding, but like shaking my head
Shaking,
whenever
yeah.
people spoke to me in Korean. I was like, and then I would do signs and just figure it out. The
Yeah.
one thing that did surprise me is in Busan, we stayed in the middle of the financial district in a business hotel, and the people in the lobby didn't have, they spoke English, but it wasn't
Super
as
proficient.
right, as proficient as I would expect from a business hotel in the financial district of the second largest city of South Korea.
Yeah.
So it was like a little bit like, oh, okay.
Yeah. For me, where it was jarring is when we went to Gamcheon Village. And again, we're not saying like, oh, you have to speak English to cater to me. We're not saying that. We're saying if you are in a place where you are going to have a lot of contact with foreigners and it's like a highly touristic attraction, we really did think that they were going to be a little bit more easygoing with the English or just more adept with English. But when we went to Gamcheon Village, the tourist information center house, like it's
Yeah.
literally called the Tourist Information Center in
In
English.
English.
In English. It's not Papago that I was like, oh, tourism stuff here. No. It says like stop here and they're like trying to get you to buy a map and whatever. Very little English. Very little English. But
Yeah.
they're like 2001, you go here, purple line, orange line. Okay, okay. Like that's about as
That
much
was
as
it.
they
Yeah.
say, and that's about as much as you need to know. So
Yeah.
they know the basics. But
Yeah.
it was very surprising that in those like key areas where
Yeah.
again, like Laura said, like middle of the financial district with like we were there during conferences. Like we saw people
Yeah.
going to conferences. Like we the first day taking down the elevator stopped in every fucking floor and we were like dying. And
And
it was
most
like
of
a
them
lot
are
of people for
foreigners.
yeah, and it was foreigners, like people of all kinds, just like not like many Koreans. That was like probably
Mm-mm.
the place where we had the least amount of Korean people in that
Yeah.
elevator ride. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that. And then for me, the other thing that I'll say aside, so personally speaking, you can take this as you will. And if you're an American and if you feel offended by what I'm gonna say, then you are the problem. For me, more than the language, what you really need is cultural knowledge and sensitivity. Like South Korea is a country that is all about respect and hierarchy, all about
Mhm.
it. If you don't know someone, if someone is a stranger, if someone is older than you, if someone is your senior in the department that you're working with or like the area that you're in, there is an automatic layer of respect added. And when it came to us, like, I don't know, I'm not trying to invalidate the experiences that people did share on TikTok about getting turned away, being foreigners. Maybe that didn't happen to you, and it wasn't because you were Americans, and it whatever. Like shit just happens to people. We're not gonna say that our experience is the standard, but in our case, in 2 weeks that we were there, we had one rude waitress in Busan in a Nampo restaurant, but she was rude to everyone equally, both the Koreans and to us. The chicken place, the that she like hated her life.
I thought you were talking about the one in Seoul, the noodle place where she was like not having it at all either.
Which
Where she
one?
was like, when I came back from Namsam Tower
Uh-huh.
and like we went to that noodle place
Oh,
and
oh, but that
I
was just
took
like they were
slightly
packed.
longer.
They
Yeah,
were
yeah.
packed. Like that was
That's
different
true.
because they
No,
were
yeah,
like
yeah.
slammed.
Yeah, yeah. I
It was a
had
Michelin
definitely,
star restaurant. Everybody wanted to go there.
yeah.
It's Myeongdong. Like that shit is packed.
I forgot about the chicken place because like in the end, like we understood her.
Yeah, we got it. We're like, girl, we get it. Because we first of all, we got there like at 5. Our jet lag was jet lagging
Ugh.
majorly. And then we're like, 안녕하세요, like, whatever. And then she's like, what do you want? And like we're just like pointing at the menu. And then she like left before we could even order like the soju. We're like, we need to drink, ma'am. And like the thing is, when you go to Korean restaurants, like they kind of not all of them, but quite a big amount of them, you order something and they bring you like the check, and then like you order something else and they bring you the check for that. So like they kind of tab like kind of like when you go to a bar basically, but that's
Right.
how it is, like the restaurant experience. So this girl literally was like ignoring us, wanted nothing to do with us. Like she at one point, she never spoke to us actually. We were the ones trying to like speak and say things, and we're like 감사합니다, 안녕하세요, 죄송합니다, like all the midas that you can imagine we were trying to say, and she was not having any of it. But then we saw that there was like a table of like older Korean men, and she was treating them the exact same way.
Yeah.
So again, back to the point. If you go to South Korea as an American, expecting American customer service, you are going to be very disappointed, and you are probably going to get yelled at because that's not how they operate. In South Korea, at the restaurant, they don't come to ask you, hey, how's the meal? Bitch, they know the meal is good and you better eat that shit. They don't give a fuck if you like it or not. Like, not a single fuck. They're like, that's spicy and you look white as fuck. Can you handle this? Oh, okay, we'll serve you. And then that's on you. Like, it's very different from here, and you should just know that. Like, you can't go to another country and try to educate them on how they need to serve you, because they've been serving their own people for centuries, and who the fuck are you, you know? So for me, it's very important to get that message across, that the cultural respect and the cultural understanding is much more important than the language, because we did not know many words, but we, like, I was bowing before I went to South Korea, to be honest with you, because I watch so much Korean content and like variety shows that I'm just like naturally go to Walgreens and I'm like, hello. Like, I was done for. Like, I was already like kind of in that mindset of the bowing and stuff. So I was bowing when I was there. I said 안녕하세요. I said 감사합니다. I said, and like, they were just so grateful that you even try, because they know it's hard. They genuinely understand that their own language is hard, and it's just like they appreciate the effort. And again, this should not be an incentive to anyone, and it wasn't an incentive to us. It's not why we were conducting ourselves in any sort of way. I'm just personally like, my dad just raised me with like respect as like the top thing in my life, so I have a very ingrained deep admiration and like whatever for respect. So we got like free shit everywhere. Like, they were just like, oh, foreigners here, taste Korea. Oh, what's your favorite drink? This is what you like? Here's a drink for you. And here's, I'm take a shot with you. And here's a hangover cure. And here's free fruit. And here is a cake. Like, we got free shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Just because we were decent people. Like, and again, that should not be an incentive. But I'm just letting you know that if you are respectful and you are mindful of their culture, usually they will treat you kindly. And there will be some rude people, because there's rude people everywhere. And you shouldn't expect American customer service, because that doesn't exist really anywhere else. So,
because they're not working for tips.
They're not.
It's only a problem here because people work for tips here. So they have to put on their A game and sweeten you up to try to make a livable wage.
Yeah.
So when you don't have that, people are just going there like, we might go to the office, get our job done, and then go home.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. So just don't worry about the language. It is good to know the language, to know mostly how to say, like, probably like, how much is this, or like no amounts of money, because they do speak very fast, and like the money, like I did a not so fun one, which like the first day that I was trying to get the transportation card, the T-Money card topped up, I was like thinking in my head about the numbers and like the sign-on system and the native system, and like it's so fucking confusing. And I was like trying to say 10,000, so I said 10 and 1,000, which is like shipchong, and he looked at me like, you dumb bitch, it's not that. Whatever you think you just said, he looked at me like, you are getting like exiled right now. And he's like, man, and I was like, oh, that, sorry. 죄송합니다. 감사합니다. 안녕하세요. So yeah, knowing the numbers is probably helpful, but it's really difficult because there's two systems and they use it very differently. And just knowing the very basic thank you and hello can get you very far.
Very far. Very far. I just let Kathy do all the talking and just kind of like,
and I let Laura do all the signing and the charading, because she was like perfect for it. She was ready for that. And also like, just, things to know. Maybe you've seen it in shows or whatever. If you've been interested in going to South Korea, like if you're gonna pay for something or you're gonna give something, you like hold like the middle of your like arm to like show respect. And I was like, that's so beautiful. Because here in Miami, you're just like, here, take it. Like, it's so disrespectful and so like, I don't know, like uneventful. But they're like, every interaction is like, here's my delicate card for my delicate hand. And I'm not a delicate person, so I think that's why I like it, because I'm not very subtle. So anyway, just know those little things go a very long way.
Yeah, just research whatever culture you're visiting and see what it is that they do, so you can follow along and be respectful, because you're there as a visitor, and that's it.
Yeah,
like, just be nice.
Yeah.
It's not hard. Yeah. I'm not that nice. Like,
that's why she let me do all the talking.
Literally.
We have our different strengths.
Kathy has a sweet disposition.
Yeah, we have our different strengths and we play them up. And that's why we get along and we have like a great time together. So anyway, that's
true.
That is point 8. And now we're heading to point 9, which is activity. So
fun.
So fun. So if you're thinking about going to South Korea, or you've been wanting to, or Like you've never heard of it and you're coming across this episode and you're like, what is there for me? Listen, everything. South Korea has something for every single type of traveler and every single type of trip that you want to take. So whether it's nature, history, cultural or traditional heritage stuff, architecture, fun, stuff for the foodies, stuff for the drunkies, K-pop and K-drama, like tours, whatever, or aesthetic if you're looking for plastic surgery or like maybe some sort of like whatever, something that is like more geared towards your aesthetics. South Korea is it. Like they really have something for everyone. So we're gonna go into like just a tiny little bit of detail here of a few things, and then we're gonna move on to the next thing. So
One of the things that I asked Kathy before we left, I was like, Kathy, are we doing hiking? And she was like, fuck no. And I'm like, all right. So one of the
she
reasons why I
asked to know
asked,
if she should pack her shoes or not.
that's exactly what I was going to say. Like,
Okay.
I just wanted to know, like, since COVID hit, Ryan and I have been doing a lot of trips where we do go hiking. So I have really sensitive feet. Like, it's weird. It's not weird. I'm just, my feet are sensitive. So I have like special hiking shoes and special hiking socks that I like to use, which I actually did use the hiking socks just for regular everyday work
Same, because
wear.
she sent them to me.
And bro, they really do help. Vejigas, what are those called?
Ampollas, like blisters.
Blisters, never heard of them. Sorry.
I heard of them. I got 5. It wasn't the socks. The socks couldn't help. It was because my feet were like so sausage Viennas, like bloated from the flight,
Yeah.
that I never recovered. And then the shoes were like, "I'm sorry, ma'am. Like this is
I'm
not what we
trying
signed
the
up
hardest.
for."
But so I just wanted to know for the hiking, and I do like some hiking, so I just wanted to prepare myself. We didn't do well, we did more hiking that we
We did
originally
way
expected.
more hiking than I wanted, than we expected, that we were ready for,
It
dressed for. Yeah,
was
yeah.
fun.
I'm looking at you, Deku. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. Had to,
I
had
loved
to.
it. I
Yeah.
loved it.
No, it was fun. Here's the thing. I'm not particularly fond of like going up hills because
Me
I
either.
fall and whatever. But yeah, no, I told her, I'm like, listen, I would love to like Namjoon the fuck out of this trip, but at the same
Oof,
time, that
no.
that side of the Namjooning is declined because we have limited time and hikes.
Yeah.
All the hikes in the mountains, like even Laura looked into this, most of the mountain hikes that we saw take like 5, 6, 7 hours.
Yeah.
So it just like takes up the whole day. So it
Yeah.
it wasn't really something that we like were like, this is an absolute must for this trip. Like
Right.
again, this was like the if we never get to come back to Korea again, let's do all the things that we can, and hiking wasn't necessarily part of that
Mm-mm.
thing. But again, we did go up a lot more like hills and stairs and things that we like anticipated, which was totally fine.
And nature.
We
Love that.
didn't hate it.
Mm-mm.
So foodies, TikTok is full of all the restaurants that you must try and whatever. So we will have a blog that talks about all the places where we ate. We did struggle, and Laura mentioned this quite a few times. Like we rely on Eater a lot, the website that ranks like really good places to eat. That wasn't really available for most cities. Was it in Seoul? Did they have it in Seoul?
It was only in Seoul.
Yeah, so we were not really sure, like in Busan, like what's recommended, whatever. And whenever we would look on Naver, it would be in Korean, so we didn't really know like if Laura was gonna die or not from the ingredients, so we weren't really sure in that sense. But anyway, so we'll do a blog about food, and we'll include all the places that we ate. We didn't really have bad food anywhere. I think everywhere
No.
we ate was pretty good. Some
Yeah.
places stood out just more than others, but everywhere was pretty great. And so what we will say though is for drunkies, if you want to drink, South Korea is for you. So first of all, a lot of people in Miami, whenever I go to parties, I've always been a vodka girl. I don't really drink dark liquor. So when soju came into my life, I said, you're mine forever and ever, because it's like the best, lightest, like little buzz ever. It doesn't give me any hangover. And it's relatively cheap for like, not here, not
No,
imported,
even here is pretty cheap, to be honest.
but like, but like, because you get smaller bottles. So like for $7 on the more expensive side, you can get some
That's
for like
true.
5 or 6, like the Jinro, like our soju is $7 at Total
Yeah.
Wine. So you can get a pretty good buzz. So in Korea though, because they don't have drugs, they're like, alcohol is gonna be 1,001 across the board. So you can drink a lot with very little money. And right now I think the one is around like 1,300 $1 to $1. So you can get a lot with just like $5. You can probably get like fucked up.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so a lot of soju, a lot of things, and we actually found a makgeolli tasting on
By we,
Airbnb experiences. Huh?
it's Kathy, not we.
Well, I had to do some research, okay? So, and I also had added things to the list literally 2 years ago. And Laura was like, "You added this to the list." And I was like, "No, I didn't." And she's like, "Yeah, you did." And I did not even remember. That's the extent of my research. But we had talked about going to some like soju tasting or something. So I was like, I got this. So I looked on Airbnb experiences. I don't even remember how I found it. Oh, because I looked online at like makgeolli tasting and everybody recommended this one, like on Reddit and whatever. It was this one specific one with this guy named Sam. We're going to probably do a blog about it. We had a great, fantastic time. We both bought
We love
makgeolli
Sam.
and brought it back with us. This was before Jin came out with his makgeolli like episodes. And so, yeah, so we both have makgeolli in our homes and it was really, really good. It was a great tasting. We met some people that we befriended that day. And then we went and hung out at night. So it was great. And so, yeah, I highly, highly, highly recommend this particular tasting. Sam does offer other activities like soju tasting. His soju tasting, though, goes up to like, 50 something percent proof alcohol. So, like, if you want that kind of a tasting experience, by all means, go for it. And then he also does like trails and hiking things or whatever. He's really cool. He speaks great English and he's a fun time. So, Sam, if you see this, call me for whatever purposes you want to call me
Yes.
for.
Please do.
Sponsorships, getting married, whatever you want. I'm open to all the things.
Aside from drunkies, and I do want to go back to food. We've mentioned it a lot. I'm allergic to a lot of things. One of the bigger things is shellfish. The signs, please beware, the signs are not always 100% clear. There was a fish stick, well, it's not a fish stick, a fish cake that I saw that we bought at a train station that literally said just like ingredients that I'm not allergic to. And then I took a bite of it and it had shrimp.
And it was a
Even
big bite.
though yeah, even though in the description it didn't say it had shrimp.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it was just like, yeah, all of these have shrimp, you dummy, or they just don't really have those issues over there. Maybe people
They're
just
like, if
know.
you die, you die.
Like I don't know, maybe people just know to be super 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 aware. I just trusted
I
what
mean,
the
there's
sign said.
evolutionary differences in every country. Like, they
Yeah,
don't have the gene for like body odor. So like maybe they just don't
right.
have as many allergies like developed or they don't care or they don't know. So
Right. So each meal for me was basically a Russian
Russian
roulette.
roulette.
I never knew what was going to get to me one day. And we ate at like a food court. And I got a meal that was literally nowhere did it say it had any shellfish. I still don't know what it had, but I had like one of the banchan and it had something that made me feel not okay.
She means side dishes. She's just so Korean right now.
Oh
Wow,
yeah,
Laura.
it's
Look
not
at you. Like you're like,
Korean.
I don't even speak Korean, guys, but the banchans totally got to me. One of the side dishes definitely got to her because the main dish didn't
Yeah.
have anything. So yeah.
And I
Yeah, it
have no idea what it was.
was they don't really have a lot of detailed explanation about the ingredients. And so definitely if you're allergic to things, watch out for that. And take an
Bring your
EpiPen.
EpiPens, bring your allergy medicine. Just take one actually each morning if you're like me. It's important. You
And
don't
bring
want to
it in your
die.
bag because Laura was a dumb bitch that I wanted to smack a
Mhm.
lot of times, especially 2 fucking days where
Yeah.
she didn't take it in the morning and she didn't bring it with her. So we
Yeah.
were like looking for pharmacies to buy allergy meds at, which like in itself is a risk of like you being allergic to the medicine and the allergy
Right.
medicine. So yeah.
And pharmacies aren't open like here 24/7. So you have to be mindful of that too. Sundays might be a little bit iffy. We didn't really have a problem in Seoul, but in the smaller cities, even though Busan is like the second largest, I did notice that pharmacies are not open on Sundays. Daegu, we went on a Sunday, forget about it. Like we should
Nothing.
have known, like forget about it.
Nothing. It's like, well,
Nothing.
if you die, you die. At least you
Yeah.
die doing what you loved. Yeah.
So that's also something to be aware for people like me, just looking out. Moving on to less death related things. Luckily for us, we went two people because Korean culture is very much about community, and that translates to even food.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a solo traveler, you might not always find a place to eat.
Yeah. You have to look for specific restaurants that cater to solo people, because most restaurants that we ended up going to, whenever we went to order a food item and we're like, can we get one of this and one of this? And we're like, no, you can get one of either of them and it's for both of you. And even though Laura and I have a lot of similarities and a lot of like Venn diagram circling coming across of like matching, our food taste and our food tolerability or tolerance is not one of those. Like
Nope.
4% to the fucking max. I
Yep.
am very sensitive to texture and I don't eat a lot of like foods, and I'm just like grossed out by a lot of foods too. While Laura is just like allergic to all the other foods that I'm not grossed out by, and she's more willing to try and like more adventurous with her palate. So we struggled a lot with like
Yeah.
finding a dish that could cater to both of us, because it was mandatory at that restaurant to pick something that was for both of us to share.
We asked a girl that we met that was doing traveling by herself, and she's like, yeah, I just had to like Google or like research to make sure that that restaurant accepted just one person. She didn't have, she had been in South Korea for a little bit longer than us. I think she was about to leave basically, and she hadn't had Korean barbecue until she was with us, because Korean barbecue is one of those meals where you need more than one person. So, unless you're willing to spend a bunch of money and waste a lot of food, which why would you? You're
Yeah.
not going to be able to do it. So,
Yeah. And then I think Laura wanted to mention this. This is more like very hyper niche specific for those
mm,
looking for K-pop and K-drama like activities. I mentioned earlier, Global Interpark is a bitch to deal with, because
horrible.
so there's Interpark and there's Global Interpark, and you need to know the difference between the two. Like you can't really do a lot of things on Interpark even if you have like the English translating settings to it, because you're a foreigner and they won't accept your card that is not from South Korea. So you
Mm.
have to make sure that you are on Global Interpark to be able to run your transactions. And then we had like a little bit of a mishap one day where like we had talked about we were gonna go to the Hype building. So, and we did this early on in the month that we were planning for things. And like Laura was at my house. We were buying tickets for all the activities that we were doing. And then when I went to buy the ticket for Hype, it only allowed me to buy one ticket at a time. And we were both like, this is so fucking stupid, because like, what if it's a family of four? What if it's a dad that is
Mhm.
trying to buy tickets for his family? Like, how would he, like, would he have to create accounts for all four people? The answer is yes, because they won't even let you buy multiple tickets from the same account. So you have to be very mindful of like which activity you're going to. Global Interpark is mostly around like K-pop and events and concerts, and like they also have products or whatever. So again, just make sure that you are on the right Interpark place, whether it's like South Korea or global, and then look at their limitations for how many tickets you can purchase for an event, because there might be a very big limitation, like one person, and you're gonna have to have multiple accounts so you can buy multiple tickets for things.
And then one last thing, if you're into K-pop and you're going to South Korea, try to find a concert. Kathy actually really pushed for this. I was a little hesitant just because in the US, K-pop concerts take a lot of time. And I was like, we're going to South Korea for such a small amount of time. Like, do we really want to spend X amount of hours just for a concert? The answer is yes. Yes, you do. The experience is completely different from what we have in this side of the world, especially if you're Hispanic. It's very, very different, but it is worth it just to live it and to say you went to a K-pop concert in South Korea. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Especially like if you've gone to a K-pop concert here, a lot of the culture of the K-pop concerts has traveled here. So we
Mm-hmm.
do see where like all of these things originated, but it was very different. Like, we haven't been to a concert here where like the entire arena, stadium, auditorium location knows the fan chants. We haven't been to
Yeah.
one of the like, because a lot of people don't feel comfortable screaming in Korean, which is totally understandable. We are those people. Lara doesn't even look at that fan chants. I try, but like, so it depends. So hearing the entire fan base like sing a song
Oh my
harmoniously
God.
as if they had been training for
Beautiful.
this moment their whole lives, which probably they have, was just like an out of body experience. I still can't get over that
Truly.
moment.
Me
So
neither.
and again, for me it was just like go to any concert. Like I didn't care what the concert was. Unfortunately, like the timing of our trip, if we had gone to be there for the weekend of the 18th, 20th. There were so many concerts that weekend, but we were
So
leaving the
many.
16th. So the only concert that was available during the time that we were there. Oh, and also like the cities kept like avoiding us because there was like the street men fighting, but like we were in Seoul when they were in Busan, and they were in Busan when
Yeah.
we were in, like, it was just it didn't work. The math wasn't mathing. But the one
Mm-mm.
concert that was available was Treasure, which I've been like recently getting into them as of like March or April. So I definitely was like, Laura, like, I know this group, like, I promise you, like, they're worth it. I know, like, we don't want to waste a lot of time, but like, when else are we gonna say like we went to a concert in South Korea, and like a K-pop concert nonetheless?
Mm-hmm.
So we did end up going, and it was a really good time. Like, even though we couldn't like stand up and like live our best ratchet like US girls going to a concert lives, I was explaining to Laura, like, this actually makes sense because it's kind of inconsiderate. Like, if someone stands and everyone behind them has to stand, and then you have
Yeah.
to stand the whole concert, and not everyone can. So
Yeah.
that's something to consider. So it was different. It was definitely fun. It doesn't really like take too much away, but Laura was definitely like, I think she felt like she had a seatbelt on and couldn't get up,
Yeah.
because that's her mode, is she needs to get up and dance. Like, that's what she
Yeah.
does at concerts. So yeah, and they do sell beer, at least at the KSPO Dome. But they only sell it like up until the concert starts. After the
Mm-hmm.
concert starts, they close all the concession stands. So make sure that you
Yeah.
get all the drinks that you need before the concert starts. That's a
Right.
pro tip for you.
And we'll talk a little bit more about this particular experience in another episode because we have a lot of notes.
Yeah. So
Oh, right.
I
Sorry, I
mentioned
forgot.
for the drunkies that we found the makgeolli tasting and Airbnb experiences. And then, long story short, we wanted to do a photo shoot. I was like, Laura, if we're gonna do this thing, I feel like we should have a photographer, because like we both pop off with pictures, sure, but like, number one, we can't pop off together,
Right.
because we're usually taking pictures of each other. And like, let's be real, a photographer can do way more than we can. So when I was looking into the makgeolli tasting, I ended up finding a photographer in Airbnb experiences who had really good reviews, and oh my god, life changing. Like, we'll show and talk more about the photography session, and we'll share all the pictures that we can, because he gave us over 600 pictures. It was almost 700. Fucking love him.
I
He
love
was
him.
so nice. He was so great. And he, like, none of us like, really are like, oh, let's pose and this. Like, I every time I see like, what's his name, David Suh on TikTok, like, this
Yeah.
is how you pose like a bad bitch. I'm like, I don't know about
Mm.
that. So so Kangen, who was our photographer that we found through Airbnb experiences, made us really comfortable. He took some stunning, stunning pictures. And that made Laura realize that she really needs to go to the endocrine doctor. And so there's that. It paid off. And it
Yeah.
wasn't super crazy price, because the first picture thing that I looked at was Flytographer, like Fly2 photographer, because I had heard about them before, and I had seen other friends, like, when you go to another city, you don't know the photographer, so you go through Flytographer and you can book them. But them's is expensive. They were like almost $300 for 30 minutes for 15 pictures. And I respect photographers. I know that there's a tremendous craft behind it, and like, it takes time and whatever, but that was simply not within our budget. So we looked at other options, and we couldn't be happier with what we got, because we got way more than we paid for. I'll say that.
And just a little anecdote, we were taking pictures and like we kept on like gassing each other up. We have
Like,
some
yes,
vocab
girl, that's
Yeah.
it. You
We
got
have some
this.
vocabulary that comes from drag queens because we like to watch drag queens, a lot of their content. So at the end of this session, this poor man was literally
This like young Korean, like, adorable, nice man.
was
I think he was
yassing with
shooting.
everybody.
He was shooting you, and he goes, "That's it." And we were like, this Korean man has no idea he's like 2 minutes away from becoming Trixie Mattel. Like, 2 minutes away from fully just embracing drag culture and like just going for it. He was great. He really was great.
It was amazing. I
We
had
had
a
a really
good
good
time.
time. It was
I
a great
wish
time.
I could keep him so he can gas me up everywhere because
Yeah.
like it was amazing.
Yeah, totally. And okay, now we can jump to point number 10, which
Our
is the
final
most
point.
popular question we have received to date by far, and it is our budget. So Laura, take it away.
So, personal disclaimer before we say anything. Kathy and I are both in our 30s. We have established careers. We don't have very big financial responsibilities.
Like kids.
cough, cough, children. We are pretty smart. We're very fiscally responsible. We do have our things here and there, K-pop, but for the most part, we're very fiscally responsible. We budget, we spend our money carefully. And because we've been planning for this trip for a long time, we've been saving. We didn't really know when we were going to do it. We have just been saving for a while. And aside from that, in general, we like to be very comfortable. If we're going on a trip, we don't like to be uncomfortable. Like, we're not going somewhere new to suffer. We're going there to enjoy ourselves. So, with that, we personally spent about $170 a day, each of us, on everything. Like, that includes everything except for like a couple of things here and there.
Like
That's
souvenirs
not
or like creams, or like if Laura went somewhere and she bought herself a beer or something, like
yeah.
literally like that.
And the instances are very small. It also doesn't include our airfare to and from South Korea,
Right.
but in general, that budget is mid to high range. You can definitely do it in less. Again, each person has different priorities, so you can figure out what you're willing to give up or splurge on, right? So
Yeah.
it's
When Laura and I started talking about South Korea, we again agreed immediately that we were gonna start saving money for whenever the trip came up. And we just threw around a number that we were like, let's just go, like, let's just save this amount of money for the trip. Hopefully it covers everything. And that number was $2,500. Just so
mhm,
everyone knows, very transparently. So we both, over 2 years, saved that amount of money. Again, not including the airfare. We knew the airfare was probably gonna be
yeah,
on its own. The cheapest, we'll say, the cheapest we've seen airfare to South Korea since like borders opened back up post COVID, because we started looking since back
right.
then, it was around $900. What I
Mm,
will say is we have another friend currently planning a trip to South Korea next year. And her tip was she's looking to go through Japan, because through Japan, the tickets are $600. And then once they're in
mm,
Japan, they can go to South Korea, because I guess South Korea is getting very big with K-pop and very in
makes
demand.
sense.
Things are happening. So South Korea is a very popular destination right now. So maybe it costs less to go somewhere else, like Japan or I don't know, China nearby. And then
Right,
you can get creative in looking for a ticket. You don't have to look at South Korea directly if you are looking to save money and if you don't
right,
mind to be traveling for longer. In our case, we were actually very surprised. Our flight to Korea, when we were at the airport in Detroit, they were asking where was your final destination so they could put specific stickers or check the papers that you needed. Most of our flight wasn't staying in
no,
Korea. A lot of people were going to Thailand, a lot of people were going to China, a lot of people were going to Vietnam. Like it was just going everywhere. So I guess like that was the best option for the people there, and that was the best option for us. So
right. And aside from that, like we mentioned earlier, we know each other, like we know ourselves by this point. So for example, in hotels, it's not just a place for sleeping for us. We want to be comfortable. We expect a certain level of amenities, like the two twin beds, a bathroom, a private bathroom, that kind of stuff. So we spent a little bit more money there. Again, compared
and
to
it
other
wasn't even
places,
bad. It wasn't even
yeah,
bad.
compared to other cities that I've been to or in other countries, it really wasn't that bad for what amenities they gave you.
Yeah.
I believe our Busan hotel was like maybe 55, $60 a night, something like that. And
Yeah.
it was a really nice hotel,
It
like
was.
really
Again in the
nice.
middle of the financial district. Like
Right,
it wasn't like that we were off in some corner. Like Laura has said it 75 times, and I'm gonna go to for 76. We like comfort, we like functionality. So we were like, let's be where the people are, like the Little Mermaid.
right,
Let's be close to like the bus station, the train station, so we don't have to walk like a ton. And let's
mm,
not be away from people. And like if we have to walk late at night, even though South Korea is a very safe country, we felt safe because we didn't have like a lot of walking in the dark to do, things like that, all the things that you have to consider. So we really didn't pay, like going to a hotel here in Chicago and even
ugh,
Atlanta and New York and LA
so
is
expensive.
way more expensive than whatever we paid in
Yeah,
South Korea. Like we did pay the most, like Laura said, the highest ticket price on our budget was the flight, and that's only because we booked so late and because we booked
hmm,
Comfort Plus. If not,
right.
we would have been able to get it for cheaper. So
Yeah. And it's another part where we could have saved money, but we chose not to. When we were going to the airport, we did take public transport, but For example, when we landed in Busan, we booked a car before landing because we knew we were going to land late. We were tired and dead, and
Exhausted.
I don't think we would have been able to figure out anything because we were too tired
Your
to
brain
figure
just
out
doesn't
anything.
work at that time or with that
No.
jet lag. We didn't sleep on the plane there,
Yeah.
which was horrible.
Yeah.
And we had been traveling for 28 hours.
Yeah.
So Laura, I think when we were in Detroit or even like
Yeah.
from here, you were booking the
Yeah.
transport from, and it was, we looked for cost effective because again,
Mhm.
even with the prices, like I think it would have been way more expensive here. It wasn't that bad
No.
for what it was.
It was
Because
an Uber drive to the airport.
you have to think also like a lot of these stations, and this is something that I added on my last note of something to know, so I'll just say it now. Handicapped people are not prioritized
No.
in most places in South Korea. Like the entrances or the just availability of things for handicapped people is not really top of mind. And we're not the first people to say this. We're just someone else sounding off on this. So if you have any sort of handicap, I definitely think that you need to plan your routes in well in advance so that you know
Mhm.
exactly what to expect, because bus
Mm.
drivers don't wait for people. Uh the train stations have maybe sometimes like one elevator that you have to walk to like through a different entrance than the rest of the thing. So going up flights of stairs, if you have any sort of disability, can be really challenging.
Mhm.
And in our case, thankfully, we don't have to deal with that because we are fully able, but we did like just think of the challenge of being exhausted and carrying
Yeah.
our carry-ons up or down two or
Mm.
three flights of stairs. And then we had to stand in the metro because if it was traffic hour or
Yeah.
whatever, like for an hour if we were going like from Seoul to Incheon. So
Yeah.
just things like that, you have to consider what matters to you.
Yeah.
And you can get somewhere for 1801, and that's great. And if you are ready to do that, then that's good for you. We use public transport 99% of the time.
Right.
The only time we use like the Uber was that night in Busan and the last day when we are leaving Seoul to come back home, because mostly like because Laura was down for the train still because she does get also motion sick when she's in
Mm.
cars, so she didn't want to like deal with that. But because I had my second-degree burn on my leg and my bandages were like hurting me and just walking was painful and just existing was painful, I was like,
Yeah.
listen, I really can't go up or downstairs right now. Like I've done enough. Like
Yeah.
I burned my leg literally halfway through the trip. So
Yeah.
all of the time that I spent in Seoul, I was in pain.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, we're in Seoul. It's a once in a lifetime experience. Like even if I come back, it's gonna be a completely different trip. So,
Yeah.
brave through it and did what I could. But the last day, I was like, I'm not
Yeah.
going up and down carrying all the heavy shit that we had. At that point, we had three
Yeah.
bags. So yeah, so just you just have to be self aware
Yeah.
and be aware of the prices and see what you're willing to spend on or whatever.
Yeah.
And then incidentals, like the day that we in Daegu had
Right.
to pay extra for the train,
The
like
train
four times the
station.
price. So
Yeah.
just have
A-
put money for that
And just really once you get to South Korea, it's not that expensive.
at all.
There's things for every budget. For example, we used to in Busan, we used to like to see the sunset in like the different beaches, and we would buy two bottles of soju, or was it just one?
I think it was one bottle of soju and one bottle of soda
Two
cups,
cups with ice,
and maybe a
two
snack if you wanted
snacks,
something.
and it was $5. So like
Or
really,
when we in Jeju, when we went to the convenience store after the park, we like bought gimbap. We bought like juice, the strawberry milk, the snack,
yeah,
whatever. It was 7,001. Like
yeah,
you can get so much like with so little. So like if you're going to South Korea and like let's say you have a super limited budget, you could eat just convenience store food, like let's say because we also weren't eating 3 meals a day like because of
no,
whatever we
no,
were doing. So if you have let's say like one really strong meal a day and then the rest of the time you can have like snacks, it's way cheaper than here to be
yeah,
fed and to be
yeah.
full, like, and it
Like
feels healthier too.
yeah, I now I understand why a lot of people that we see on like these shows say they don't really cook. The food is delicious and it's really not that
We
expensive.
couldn't figure out the delivery at the hotel that one day,
Oh my
and we have to talk
God.
about that too. Yeah, just no, some hotels have restrictions. Like our hotel didn't even have room service because I guess they
Mm-mm.
don't want the smell of food in the rooms. So they also didn't allow delivery, and figuring out the delivery app was a mission. So
Yeah.
that could be a thing too.
But you'll figure it out. Like it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
If any of these things are stopping you, don't let them. It's not
Yeah.
worth it. Just do the best you can and you'll have a great time. So that concludes our two-parter episode. And with that, we've shared the top 10 things you need to know to have a successful South Korea trip. Thank you for listening. If you guys have any more questions, you can reach out to us in any of our socials at MIA2K Podcast. Like we've mentioned during these two episodes, we will be dropping multiple blogs about our experiences and our tips and tricks. So if you're interested in that, if you're a reader like me, go check it out.
And on our socials, you can find lots of footage of what we did every single day. And we're also probably going to put together an itinerary of our trip. So if you're interested in that, please look out for that information dropping soon as well. Thank you for enjoying these episodes with us. We are so glad to be back and to share our experience with you so that you can go and plan an amazing trip for yourself as well. And if you want to take us with you, like by all means, we are looking for excuses to go back. So,
please.
Chaba!
If I can say that this is a work trip,
yeah,
that's great for me.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So, thank you
Thank
all.
you for listening. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the MIA2K podcast. We have lots of great content coming up ahead. So please don't forget to follow and subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you enjoyed our episodes, please rate us 5 stars.
And for the real-time tea, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook by searching for @MIA2K Podcast. Dale. Bye.